Thank you very much, Your Majesty, Excellencies. It's truly an honor to be here with you today. So, as Britta has said, I'm the UN Special Rapporteur on the sales, sexual exploitation, and sexual abuse of children. I was appointed by the Human Rights Council to advocate for the protection of children from the different manifestations of sales, sexual abuse, and exploitation. So in addition to being an advocate, I report annually to the Human Rights Council and the General Assembly on the different thematic issues that I feel they should avert their mind to. Last year, interestingly, I presented my annual report to the General Assembly on the existing and emerging sexually exploitative practices against children in the digital environment. And in that report, I highlighted how the misuse of existing and emerging technologies exacerbates and amplifies children's exposure to risks, harms, and various forms of sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. What we do already know is that 1 in 3 internet users worldwide is estimated to be a child, with children going online for the first time every half a second. Even though information communication technologies offers a wide array of opportunities to protect and uphold the rights of children, their rapid, evolving, and unprecedented capabilities present significant risks to children and expose them to harms caused through the misuse of technology. We all know this, and we have talked about this even before now. But I wanted to start from the fact that misuse of technology is good. I mean, we're using technology here to communicate, but misuse of technology causes harm. So I want to talk briefly about how the misuse of technology harms children in line with the terms of reference of my mandate, because we see every day how technology misuse is used to sexually harass, take and share non-consensual images and videos, generate child sexual abuse materials, sexually extort children, live stream sexual abuse of children. And now, compounding these problems, we now have artificial intelligence that is misused to amplify and multiply the sexual abuse of children using digital technology. And we see this through deepfakes and synthetic images. We see how AI is increasingly being weaponized to create realistic child sexual abuse content with little or sometimes no interaction with real children. We also see how AI models can generate these materials using image prompts, manipulate real images, or create entirely new artificial content that appears indistinguishable from real-life abuse. We also know and we see how technology enables perpetrators to expand their methods of exploitation, making detection and law enforcement efforts even more difficult, while also facilitating anonymity and evasion of oversight. Now, these are the negative effects of AI and generally technology, digital technology. But in spite of all this negativity, we have increasingly seen how artificial intelligence can be leveraged to address the risk posed by AI itself and other technologies in online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. Through content moderation, we see that AI can analyze images, videos, and text to detect explicit or exploitative content involving children. Advanced algorithm can identify known child sexual abuse materials and flag them, or even flag new content for review. AI can monitor online platforms for suspicious behavior patterns, such as grooming tactics, inappropriate interactions, or sharing of child sexually exploitative content. We also know, and we have seen, how AI can identify and alert platform moderators and law enforcement about potential risks to children in real time, or where users or potential users attempt to solicit or share child sexual abuse materials. We've also seen how beneficial AI has been to educate children and parents on online safety. Now, of course, there are some child sexual abuse material detection challenges caused by AI because the synthetic nature, especially now with evolving use of synthetic child sexual abuse material, we have seen that this complicates detection, as traditional tools that rely on hashing to identify known child sexual abuse materials may not recognize new AI-generated materials. So therefore, law enforcement and platforms must therefore adapt their detection systems to identify and block synthetic contents, but also using human expertise to ensure that AI systems are accurate to avoid false positives. Having said that, we also have to note that the sheer scale and complexity of this digital landscape underscore the urgent need for stricter legal and regulatory frameworks. We've heard Leander talk about the importance of regulation. We also need to continue and strengthen collaboration amongst technology companies, but also amongst law enforcement and government in order to combat online sexual abuse and exploitation. But I also want to focus more on the role of tech companies, because governments do have a primary responsibility to protect children, and they are responsible for regulation, but tech companies are the ones that are designing the technology. So it is imperative to mainstream the rights of children within their business models, rather than retrofitting safeguards after harm has occurred. Privacy and safety by design approaches ensures that security and integrity of technological infrastructure are not compromised. It's also important to strengthen the ethics of due process safeguards, transparency and accountability of the industry as a whole, which makes it possible to pinpoint where weaknesses exist in safety practices. One of the suggestions I also made in my report is the fact that instead of passively relying on warrants, notices, and takedown procedures, the burden to report abuse should be placed squarely on tech companies and online providers. Businesses must be mandated to proactively and rapidly implement concrete automated and human detection, removal, and moderation tools, and to promptly report to relevant authorities any harmful, exploitative, or abusive content of children occurring or that is being amplified by their products and their services, including by identifying real-time abuse as well as accounts used by perpetrators. It is worth noting that the challenges posed by borderless nature of digital crimes can hinder investigative and judicial process. It would therefore be important to create and strengthen specialized multidisciplinary units with adequate resources for effective investigations and necessity for international cooperation among regulatory bodies, law enforcement, and industry stakeholders. One thing I think that must come out of this meeting is the fact that it's very important to know that we are all stakeholders in protecting children from online sexual abuse and exploitation. Tech companies have a very large role in doing so, but so are governments and so are civil society organizations. All of us have a role to play. And we cannot do it without strong laws. We cannot do it without adequate budgetary allocation. And we cannot do it without well-trained law enforcement to effectively carry out their jobs. But I will conclude by saying that there are so many benefits in the use of AI, including protecting children online. But the technology that is used to do good can also be misused by bad actors. And I reiterate the importance of holding tech companies responsible and liable to ensure that children are kept safe in the way they design their technology. I thank you so much for your kind attention.